voice can break the dark. A single spark ignites the heart. But if we turn when justice calls, the chains we forge will bind us all. When truth is silenced, when lies take hold, the cost is freedom, the soul grows cold. No one stands tall while another must fall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, defending every voice, defending every right. For the moment we falter, the moment we stall, we lose our own freedom when we let others fall. You can't stand free while others kneel. When justice fades, it's freedom they steal. An innocent condemned, a crime unspoken, and with it the bond of liberty is broken. No tyrant rules without our consent. Oppression thrives where silence is spent. Stand for the weak, the silence the small, or freedom will crumble for us all. We're mavericks of freedom, guardians of the light, fighting for the truth, for what is just and right. For the rights of one are the rights of all. We rise or we fall by answering the call. Even those we may oppose deserve the rights we all uphold. For if we deny them what is fair, we build our own prison in despair. The fight's not easy, it never will be, but justice for one is the key to be free. We stand as mavericks, together we strive, defending the rights that keep freedom alive. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, upholding every truth, protecting every right. When one is oppressed, we're all in the thrall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. So take a stand, let your courage rise. Defend the truth, don't compromise. For the soul of the world, the writing's on the wall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all.
Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network. Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everyone. A little bit of a glitch there off the top of the program, but we're broadcasting. We're with you. All is well. And we have much to share with you tonight. Of course, we will update the information on the death of the Pope. We will also look at this evolving scandal involving Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and the US of A. We have a special guest coming on to help us analyze that. We have the ongoing election battle in Canada, where it's a final sprint to the finish line and a close race it appears to be. All the polls seem to suggest that Carney is still slightly out in front, although I'm seeing some influencers out there suggesting that Poilievre is way out in front. I don't think that's really necessarily the case at all. I think it is close, and Carney still appears to have a bit of an edge, appears to be the front runner, which is why they have ramped up the attacks on him. And we'll get into, the Easter egg roll a little bit. We'll look at that too. So we'll update the Canadian election campaign stuff right near the beginning of the broadcast. Then we'll move into the other top news stories of the day right after this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, let's get things started here. We, of course, have to talk about the death of the Pope. I think right off the start of the broadcast tonight, we know that the cause of death has now been released and that he died of a stroke, which then led to heart failure. And he will be remembered as a reformer, someone who really stirred things up over at the Catholic Church and was not well liked, I would say, by the conservative arm of the Catholic Church because of his progressive politics. Some would say liberal, I would say progressive. 88 years old. Cause of death, as I say, a stroke that then resulted in irreversible heart failure. That's all on the death certificate that has been issued by the Vatican. Some people taking note of the fact that J.D. Vance was one of the last people to visit with the Pope over the weekend. And he died overnight in our time here, Eastern time. And I received a phone call in the middle of the morning to notify me that the Pope had passed. His body will most likely be transferred to St. Peter's Basilica Wednesday morning. That will allow worshipers to pay respects that, according to official sources at the Vatican, the College of Cardinals will choose his successor during an upcoming conclave. Tributes pouring in from around the world tonight. Let's show you this. This was from 9:45 a.m. this morning when Cardinal Kevin Farrell, Camerengo of the Apostolic Chamber, announced the death of Pope Francis. We have the video. Subtitles on the bottom. Here it is.
Carissimi fratelli e sorelle, con profondo dolore devo annunciare la morte del nostro Santo Padre Francesco. alle ore 7:35 di questa mattina, il vescovo di
7:35 a.m.
Roma,
this morning, their
Francesco,
time,
è tornato alla casa del Padre. La sua vita tutta intera è stata dedicata al servizio del Signore e della sua Chiesa. Ci ha insegnato
taught us
a
how we can
vivere i
can live
valori
in
del
faith, courage,
Vangelo
and
con
universal
fedeltà,
love
coraggio e amore universali,
in a particular way
in
for
modo
those who are poor or
particolare
marginalized,
a favore dei più poveri ed emarginati.
with immense
Con
gratitude
immensa gratitudine per
for his
il suo
example as a true disciple
esempio
of the
da
Lord
vero
Jesus Christ.
discepolo del Signore Gesù.
We recommend Pope
Raccomandiamo
Francis's
l'anima
soul
da Papa Francesco
to
all'infinito
God's
amore
infinite merciful love,
misericordioso di Dio uno
one and only.
e trino. Grazie.
Known, as I say, for his progressive reforms within the Catholic Church. I'm just going to check to see what the latest tributes are like. Just take a look here. Do a little Twitter scroll. I know that we've just, this afternoon, we've seen the leaders in Canada paying tribute. Let's just take a little scroll down Twitter, shall we? Here we go. UNESCO paying tribute to the memory of Pope Francis. Here it is, Reuters reporting on the tributes coming in. World leaders mourn the passing of Pope Francis. This news saddens us deeply because a great man and a great shepherd has left us. I had the privilege of enjoying his friendship, his advice, and his teachings, which never failed even in moments of trial and suffering. From Italy's Prime Minister. Vladimir Zelensky, he knew how to give hope, ease suffering through prayer, and foster unity. He prayed for peace in Ukraine and for Ukrainians. We grieve together with Catholics and all Christians who looked to Pope Francis for spiritual support, eternal memory. And from Vladimir Putin in Russia. Throughout the years of his pontificate, he actively promoted the development of dialogue between the Russian Orthodox and Roman Catholic churches, as well as constructive cooperation between Russia and the Holy See. In this sad hour, I would like to convey to you and the entire Catholic clergy my words of sympathy and support. From French President Emmanuel Macron, throughout his pontificate, Pope Francis had always sided with the most vulnerable and the most fragile, and that he did this with a lot of humility. In this time of war and brutality, he had a sense for the other, for the most fragile. And we continue down here from Tony Blair. Pope Francis was an extraordinary and devoted servant of the Catholic Church, admired both within and beyond for his humility, compassion, and unwavering commitment to the Christian faith and the service of all humanity, Christian and non-Christian alike. Charity and I are deeply saddened by his passing. May he rest in peace. And here's the president of Mexico. Pope Francis was a humanist, a man who was always close to the most humble, to the poor.
Estuvo cerca siempre del más humilde, de los pobres. Todavía el día
Even
de
yesterday,
ayer,
his message was for
su
peace.
mensaje fue por la paz. Así que es una
So it's a painful loss.
pérdida dolorosa. Que en paz descanse.
May he rest in peace, and our affection and love goes to the whole world,
Cariño a todo el mundo y en particular a las y los
and particularly to the Catholics of Mexico.
católicos de México.
And we'll take a little break and come back, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about that brown bunny at the White House today. Easter egg roll straight ahead.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
I normally wouldn't put this kind of story so far up in the newscast, but there seems to be something sort of significant about it this year because there's been so much talk around it. It's also one of the weirdest events every year that I come across. It creeps me out. It's the bunny. It's the bunny. And this year, different. Of course, it's different. It's Donald Trump. He has to be different. Everything's weird. Normally, it's a white bunny. This year, he's got a brown one. Everybody else goes white. He has brown. He had white before. Now he's brown because he has to be different. Anyway, let's go. I'll just show you. Here we go. 30,000 some eggs, real eggs this year.
Having a hard time, so obviously you see what the end result is. But he's a good man. He worked very hard. He loved the world. He really did. He loved the world. So
asked about the Pope.
It's an honor to mention. It's an honor when flags of the country, as you know, have been taken to half-mast, and they'll be that way for about 4 days.
Do you have any favorites on the American Pope that you would like to see?
Well, I met two of them, and look, these are great gentlemen. They're great. If they weren't, they wouldn't be Pope.
President Trump, do you remain confident in Hegseth?
Oh, totally.
President Trump.
Why do you even ask a question like that? We have recruitments that's at an all-time high. The spirit in the armed forces is fantastic. Great confidence.
Mr. President, can you explain why you're comfortable with Secretary Hegseth using Signal to discuss those military plans?
Are you bringing up Signal again? I thought they gave that up 2 weeks ago.
There was a new report this weekend that he used in a separate chat that included some family members, a personal lawyer.
It's all just the same old stuff from the video. That's an old one. Try finding something new.
Sir, your message to Catholics, sir, warning the loss of Pope Francis. Your message to Catholics, sir.
We love you all. We're with you all. They were with me during the election, as you know, very strongly, and it's just an honor to have the support of the Catholics, and I feel very badly for them because they love the Pope.
Mr. President, do you feel...
No matter who the next Pope is elected, whoever that may be, what relationship do you hope to have with the incoming Pope?
I think very good.
Mr. President, do you feel...
But I think very good.
Sir...
Mr. President.
There's a chance. There's a very good chance.
Are you happy with how the European Union is handling the tariffs right now? Are you happy with Europe right now?
They've been fun.
Mr. President.
We're going to ultimately have a deal with anyone. If we don't, we're going to make it anyway. But we're going to ultimately have... The economy is very good. We don't have inflation. Energy's down at the lowest it's been in years. We hit actually $1.98 recently in a couple of states. I think we're doing really well. We're all set. There's a little transition, and that's going to happen. But ultimately, we're going to be the strongest that we've ever been as a nation.
Mr. President, do you feel like that...
Doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on Pete Hegseth. New story out showing that he shared information on Signal again.
All right, everyone. I don't know what the shot
incident.
looked like from Pool 3. President Trump just did a quick gaggle with press in the head-on pen. He is now moving on to the egg roll station. His back is to us. I have cell phone video in addition to what we were able to get on Pool 3, so I'll send out those notes very, very shortly. He says he still has confidence in Secretary Hegseth, and he said not Signal again, essentially. He either chose to ignore the new Signal chat or seemed to think we were...
Kids rolling the eggs. You got the lowdown on where Trump is at with Hegseth and the Pope. So we'll come back to that information about Pete Hegseth shortly when Mike McCarrick joins us to provide some perspective on that story, which potentially could lead to Hegseth stepping down. We've had conflicting reports today. Midday, we received reports that the White House was looking to replace him, and then that was quickly followed up with strong denials direct from the White House, and we'll dig into all of that when we return on the other side. Stay with me.
Maverick News. Expose lies and tell truth. world is watching.
Okay, so before we get into too much more of that, let's turn our attention, shall we, if for at least a brief period here, to the Canadian election, where the polls show that, and I will show you, the Liberals still appear to have the edge if the election were to be held today. According to the 338 poll, the Liberals would form government, securing 184 seats in the House of Commons. And there you can see where we're at with that. Conservatives would win 126 seats, so it is close. The Bloc Québécois, 23, NDP, 9, Green Party, 1. Other parties not registering on the poll map. PPC polling still somewhere around 1% or maybe slightly above. That's about it. So even though they fielded the most candidates across the country, the PPC actually just not really gaining any ground, at least not according to the polls. Most people that I speak to don't seem to believe the polls. I don't blame you. But I think they're probably fairly accurate. And the reason you're looking at the seat breakdown on the 338 that way is because so many more seats, because of population distribution in Canada, so many of the seats are concentrated in Quebec and Ontario, where the Liberals are traditionally stronger. I think Alberta is going to be pretty much painted blue all the way across. We will go to the phones later in the evening as well. Pierre Poilievre, leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, was in Toronto today. And I think that is the battleground where this election might end up decided. In fact, I mean, the Toronto area, always critical because of the heavy concentration of seats right there. You win Toronto and the GTA, and you are, really in the driver's seat. And so it's a battleground for sure. That's why Poilievre there today with just 1 week left in the campaign. He went to a retirement home.
La Femme, who are also part of our Conservative team to bring change in the forthcoming election. And really what this election is about is change. You asked where our country has gone and why we no longer recognize it. That's a question I get all the time. People look around and they say, this is not the country I grew up with. They say we don't recognize the crime, the cost of living. They worry about their kids' future. Many retired people get phone calls, panicked phone calls from their middle-aged or younger children asking if they could even stay in Canada after the housing costs have more than doubled and the paychecks no longer keep up with the rising demands of food, taxes, and everything else. They feel endangered in their streets as crime and chaos have ravaged communities and rampant and roving anti-Semitic riots increasingly shatter communities and terrify innocent people. And they ask, where did the country go? How did it fall apart? And how can we put the pieces back together? But before I tell you what I'm going to do to fix the problems that the next government will inherit from the Liberals, I have to tell you why and who I am, what motivates me, what's inside that will thrust me forward and drive my decisions at the big desk, should Canadians give me that responsibility. I don't come from a famous or wealthy background. I was born to a 16-year-old single mom. She put me up for adoption to a couple of school teachers from Saskatchewan who'd started anew in Calgary. And you know, from that humble place, we had a lot of hardship. Our folks lost, my mother had been scrimping and saving through her 20s. She managed to buy a home and then 2 other rental properties. And then along came 18% interest rates and they lost everything. And so we had to start from scratch. Those are my earliest memories. My parents stressed, sometimes fighting, worried about how they'd pay the bills. My dad trying to make his old Oldsmobile function, even though it was always falling apart. But they taught me during those hard times that this was a country that made a promise. Very simple deal. It's not kind of like the American dream, which is kind of something you wake up from. A promise is actually way better than a dream. A promise is a contract. You do this, you get that. And that deal in Canada was very simple. You work hard, you get a nice life in a beautiful, affordable house. You get to live on a safe street. And when all that's done, you get a peaceful, tranquil retirement, watching your kids and your grandkids enjoy the same promise. That is what I understood Canada to be. And that's the thing that makes me most proud to be Canadian. And what we have seen over the last 10 years is that promise is broken. Our young people can't afford homes anymore. We have Toronto now as the second most expensive housing market in all of North America. In fact, the only more expensive market is Vancouver, also in Canada. In fact, in Toronto today, it takes 29 years for the average family to save up for a down payment. Remember, you used to pay off the mortgage in 25. Crime has risen. Violent crime is up 25%. Food bank use up over 100%. Inflation has carried out an all-out assault on the pensions and savings of our seniors. Increasingly, our elderly are unable to pay. They have to choose between eating and heating, and they're afraid to go outside because of the dangers that now lurk in their streets, including in communities where they used to feel comfortable simply leaving the door unlocked. But that's the bad news. The good news is there's nothing wrong with this country that we cannot fix by the foundations that came before us. Getting back to the common sense principles, the back to basics ideas of living within our means, leaving more in the pockets of the people, a government that is servant and not master, accountability for criminals, locking up the worst offenders so that we can be safe, restoring an immigration system that puts our country and its people first and brings in newcomers only in numbers that we can house, employ, and care for, and only by selection of those that are a good fit for our country. These are all basic things we did for generations with no serious controversy. And that is how the Canadian Promise was born. We're a country that has always been practical in solving its problems and determined to give the next generation a better life than the one came before us. The Canadian Promise, though, of which I speak, is worthless if it is not granted first and foremost to our seniors, the people who built this country. And today, our seniors are struggling to make ends meet, struggling to get ahead, and or often called upon by their children for help with down payments on homes, money that you worked so hard to build up, equity that you poured into your property that is now, frankly, called upon by your kids.
Okay. So we're hearing really the same kind of messaging from all the candidates over and over and over again. I do know that tomorrow Poilievre is supposed to deliver his costed plan. He has been criticized to date for not providing a fully costed election platform. But tomorrow we're supposed to get more details. All the details are as detailed as it's going to get. The other leaders have already done that. He's the last. So we eagerly await the details as we continue our journey toward the finish line in this election going to the polls on April 28th. Here's Carney today.
We need you. Go long, go short, go tall, go small, go in. Send them all to Ottawa.
Out on the East Coast.
Outstanding team. I want to say, just before I get going, I want to say a word of thanks to Premier Holt. Above and beyond. Premier Holt, herself, her family, who I had the pleasure of meeting just a moment ago, you know, she stepped up to serve you, to serve this province during a crisis. She stepped up because of the health crisis, right? She stepped up for the health crisis. She got more than she bargained for. We got more. Susan, you want a crisis? We got more. We got more crises. She is the best. She is the best. And I'll tell you, around that table, that First Minister's table, the value of Premier Holt is incalculable. She's smart. She's got a heart. She knows her people. She knows her values. And she's there to get things done. And that's what we need. We need to get things done. We need to move forward. We need everyone. So I have a question. I have a question. And I've got a series of questions, actually. My first question, who's ready? Who is ready? Who is ready? Qui est prêt de Senator Dude? Who's ready to stand up for Canada? Okay. Okay, we got that covered. We got that covered. The next one. Who is ready to help the Liberal Party win the most consequential election in our lifetimes? Okay. Thank you. Well, that's great. My work here is done. Okay, so thank you very much. No, it is the most consequential. We need you because President Trump's trade war has literally, it is stupid, correct. It has ruptured the global economy and it has betrayed Canada, America's neighbor, closest friend, and most steadfast ally. Yeah. And it pains me to say it, but it's true. We got to recognize reality. Our old relationship with the United States is over. Okay? It's a reality. It's a tragedy. But we got to move forward. So we are responding. We're responding with purpose and with force. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not messing around. Nous nous battons contre ces tarifs injustes avec des contre-tarifs qui ont un impact maximal aux États-Unis et un impact minimal ici au Canada. Right. Hurt them more than us. Nous protégeons nos travailleurs, nos entreprises en utilisant chaque dollar tiré de nos contre-tarifs pour le faire. All that money is going to our workers and our businesses. None of it is going to the tax cuts. Et par-dessus tout, nous bâtissons un Canada fort. Now, we're going to build a strong Canada. And that is Canada. That's right. Canada. Canada. Now, it's going to require, building that Canada strong is going to require some big changes. And I'm ready to make them. As you heard the Premier say, and I was proud to hear her say it, I'm a pragmatist. I'm not a career politician. And so when I see something that's not working, I change it. And that's exactly what we did as soon as I became Prime Minister. Houses, homes are too expensive, so we cut taxes on them. And we set out a strategy to build twice as many every year using Canadian technology, Canadian skilled trades, and Canadian lumber right from here. That's right. We saw, and with Dominic Leblanc as the Minister of Finance, we saw that the capital gains tax was stifling builders and innovators and entrepreneurs, so we got rid of it. We reversed it. And we listened. We listened to you. We recognized that while it looked good on paper, the consumer carbon tax was too divisive, so we eliminated it on day one.
Okay, so we're getting into kind of the same rhetoric from him again, too. So I will say this, we'll just pull down out of that. Here's the thing. Carney also keeps talking about this being the biggest crisis of our lifetimes that Canada is facing right now. And yet, as I look online, as he says these things, we're getting this sort of dual messaging from social media influencers and conservative side broadcasters, whatever, just as critics. But I have to say, I just want to show you what I mean. There's a lot of doublespeak going on all the way around. So here's, hang on. As he says these things, he's been being criticized. We're getting the sort of the opposite speak as well. So they're getting them coming and going. Here we go. So here's one Twitter account, for instance. Watch Mark Carney say Canada is in crisis and needs government to respond with force. This is how authoritarian tyrants operate. They declare crises to gain power. Mark Carney is a communist and his supporters are retards. So, okay, so let's just listen.
We will control our destiny with the right plan, because in a crisis, plan beats no plan. A plan provides direction when there's a fog of uncertainty. It brings the team together. It drives action. When we're in a situation like this, I can tell you from experience, you need overwhelming force. You need the government to step up and lead when the private sector is retreating under anxiety and uncertainty.
So they're basically saying, oh, nothing to see here. No crisis. Separation isn't a big issue. Don't worry about the country flying apart. Trump isn't anything to worry about. But then they say that in one breath. Then over here, you get the same network of live streamers, podcasters, advocating for Canada to blow apart. You get these separatists delivering these repetitive messages like it's a marketing campaign. Here's Keith Wilson.
Each province, the federal government and each other province and First Nations are then under a positive legal duty to enter into negotiations in good faith
if there's a referendum
as to the terms
which he wants
of the province leaving.
He wants the country blown apart.
So very similar to, unfortunately, when many friends we all have and family members find themselves in a marriage that isn't working out.
Just think of that.
It's exactly what it is, because that's how Albertans feel, that we've been getting abused by this spouse left, right, and center. And they keep
really is that
our pocket at the same time as they whack us in the head another time and tell us to work harder and then take the money out of our pocket again. Getting sick and tired of it. Anyway, so we might have all met the one friend that said, yeah, I'm going through a divorce and I'm supposed to go down to court to deal with this matrimonial property stuff, but I ain't going, right? It's like, ooh,
you better go.
Yeah, how's that going to work out for you, buddy?
Yeah, you better go, because if you don't, is that not a forfeiture of
Well,
basically?
The bottom line is it's legally required that the provinces participate. It's legally required that the federal government participate. It's legally required that the First Nations participate. So they're going to fail to participate at their peril. Nobody has a veto here. The federal government, if Alberta decides, according to the Supreme Court of Canada in the 1998 reference case, if Alberta decides to...
Yeah, whatever, man. So... yeah, nothing to worry about, nothing to see here. Carney's overreacting. There's no crisis, but then they've got this campaign ramped up, a literal separatist campaign to have Alberta separate, maybe even have Canada become the 51st state, and they keep pushing it hard. And if you were out in Alberta, you know that the province is very, very strongly divided right now, like it has never been before, because they have a campaign underway, inflaming the entire situation, while they're at the same time saying, don't worry about it, there's nothing going on, nothing to worry about, Canada's not in crisis. And then these same group of people, these separatists, they're sharing videos like this that apparently are coming from the U.S. side of the border. And listen to the messaging, not only inflammatory, but also alluding to something that might go even beyond just a referendum.
Canada's fucked. Tucker had Maxime Bernier on. I can't pronounce his name. He's a French
Maxime
Canadian dude, but he is
Bernier.
actually the Trump candidate in their upcoming election. You wouldn't know that because the communist-controlled media up there in Canada
You
has
commies.
only put up fucking Mark Carney, the dude who ain't even from Canada, who has just been installed
He was
behind
born in
Trudeau,
Canada,
and
dude.
Pierre Poilievre, and people like the Canadians. You guys need to understand, Pierre Poilievre, he isn't a conservative in any sense of the word. If you brought Pierre Poilievre
He hates
down to America,
Pierre too.
he
He
would be
hates
a
them
libtard.
all.
That dude is such a fucking libtard that he makes our Lindsey Graham look like an actual fucking conservative. Pierre Poilievre is like campaigning on, we're gonna fight Trump and his tariffs and we're gonna fight back Canada. Get a fucking clue. You are a tiny fuck off country. You might have a big landmass, but you got no fucking population. You got the worst economy in the entirety of the developed nations. That's right. Canada has seen zero GDP growth. Zero!
Lie.
In 10 years.
Liar,
That's
pants
abysmal.
on fire.
Africa has better GDP growth.
Hanging from a Yankee telephone
There
wire.
is multitudes of fucking problems up there in Canada. The smallest one is like they keep just cutting off their own dick because they have unlimited resources up there, and their
Sounds
libtard
like you're
government
overcompensating,
won't let
my
them
friend.
use any of them. They extort Alberta nonstop through these equalization payments to prop up all these other. Anyway, I'm
Well,
getting
that'll
lost in the
get
weeds
people
there.
jacked, eh?
Maxime Bernier explained a couple different
He's a
things.
real
I was under the
Einstein,
impression
eh?
that only
Knows his
Alberta
French real
was
good.
making motions to
Maxime Bernier.
hold a referendum vote for independence and possibly secede into America. But he says that there is a large movement also in Quebec to do the same thing.
Well, isn't that something
So that's
new for
two
someone who don't know what
provinces
he's
in
talking
Canada
about?
that are making real world moves to get the fuck out of Canada.
Yeah, well-
and honest to God, the Canadian people, you're too fucking nice.
You're
Like,
right. We
how
are
you
too nice to
have
people
not
like you.
stood up for that dude that they are prosecuting for the trucker convoy. You
That
know,
dude?
that guy, he stood up.
That one guy
for
that you
all
can't name?
Canadians, and none of you have come to his aid. Like a very few small of you. You guys
Yeah,
are all
really
too
don't.
nice. You are all too
A lot
nice.
of people donated
For
to a
one,
lot
I
of
guess
things,
you
huh?
ain't got no guns left, so well, that's your first fucking problem. Your Canada's only hope is for Alberta to secede to the United States, become the 51st
Why would we want to
country,
join
51st state, and then
you?
hopefully the rest of the provinces will
I
fall
don't.
and join in as other fucking states, because
Yeah.
Trump isn't fucking joking. That is Canada's only hope at this point.
I
And I
thought
think
there was
that's
no
why
threat.
Trump endorsed Mark Carney,
That was-
one,
was-
to fuck with the liberals, because the liberals have to vote for Mark Carney, and they're going to be like, whoa, why did Trump endorse him? Because Mark Carney, being the Prime Minister of Canada, is the fastest way for Canada to become part of the United States, because once the economy falls and the whole country crumbles, which is literally what it's doing, you know, and Mark Carney's trying to put you under the Chinese flag. So if you want to go
You commies.
full Chinatistan, then go ahead, vote for Mark Carney. But America, we cannot allow our neighbors to the north to become, you know, full-blown communists. We can't have communists on our borders. So you guys can either vote and do it the easy way, or we're just going to have to come up there and fucking liberate your asses.
Oh.
Good luck to my Canadian friends. To the rest of you, long live this beautiful republic.
What does liberation look like, dude? What does liberation look like? You want to come up here and liberate us? Who out there is a commie? Yeah. And then you wonder why certain people are talking up the Chinese commie infiltration. Where do you think that rhetoric's really coming from? Where do you think it's coming from? Since they don't seem to like any of the above choices. Not that he wants to give you a choice. Where have I seen this happen before? Oh yeah, in a bunch of countries.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Jagmeet Singh, leader of the NDP, out in Comox, British Columbia. Day 2 for Jagmeet out in BC, all the way out on the West Coast, and campaigning out there. Now, not that you have a choice. You're not allowed to vote for Jagmeet. Otherwise, Captain America there is going to come up there and liberate your ass. So if you vote for him, I'm not exactly sure what he means by liberate, but it doesn't sound very friendly. So you might want to not vote for Jagmeet because, otherwise Captain America there is going to, I don't know, do something pretty something. So remember, it's an election and you have a choice, but you don't have a choice because if you don't choose right, then somebody else is going to make a choice for you. Well, let's listen to Jagmeet anyway, shall we? Are they mentoring him?
First of all, thank you. You showing up like this means the world to us. It's so inspiring to see your faces, to see your energy, to see your love, to see so many friends here. Thank you. Please give yourselves a round of applause. This is powerful to see you all. So powerful. Tennille touched on this, why we exist as a party. We exist because people voted for us. First and foremost, if you think of any of the great things New Democrats did, and we've done all the great things you can think of in this country came from New Democrats. That only happened because you put your trust in us, because you voted for us. You used your power to send New Democrats to Ottawa. And because people decided to send New Democrats to Ottawa, they voted for Tommy Douglas at the time. We were able to bring in universal health care. That's because of you, though, because of people. But because people voted for New Democrats, we were able to bring in pensions and old age security and employment insurance, all these social programs that lift up people because you believed in us. And on the way in, when Tennille and I were walking through this beautiful crowd of incredible people, we love you all, you're so amazing. We were walking through the crowd, a couple of seniors came up to us and said, thank you for dental care. I said, thank you for dental care. I want to say thank you for dental care. You sent New Democrats to Ottawa. You believed in the power of people that want to fight for you. You sent New Democrats to Ottawa. You voted for us, and we brought in dental care, pharmacare, workers' rights, child care. That's because of you. That's because of the people that voted for us. Ultimately, we want to build a country where people belong, where you know that you belong. You know, we want people to feel like they matter. You matter. Your lives matter. Your families matter. Your friends matter. You matter. And when we go to Ottawa, New Democrats fight for people. We use our power for you. We're not in it for the billionaires or the CEOs or those at the very, very top. We're in it for you. That's who we fight for every single day. Something my mom taught me that is a big part of who I am, and it's a big part of why we're New Democrats as well. My mom taught me as a young person, she said, we are all one. She would say that to me again and again. And when we would do volunteer work and serve food to people, she said, don't imagine that's a stranger. That person that you're serving, imagine it's me, your mom. Imagine it's your dad. Imagine that's your sister, your brother. Actually, more than that, imagine you're serving yourself. When you care for someone around you, you're caring for yourself. And when people around you are hurting, you're also hurting. But if we lift the people up around us, we care for the people around us, we're caring for ourselves. All of us rise together. Yes. And I see a lot of orange shirts here, and I think this is really important. Canada cannot move forward for justice and fairness if there's not justice and fairness for the first people of this land. We cannot have justice in our land if people still deny the trauma and the harm of residential schools. That has to be recognized. And so for all of you that are here today, your presence here is saying that you believe in a country where we look out for another. Yes. You believe in a country where we take care of our neighbor. Yes. You believe that we are stronger together, not divided. Yes. And that's the kind of country we want to build. Where we are stronger together, where we lift each other up, where we support each other. Now, is that the kind of country you want to build? Okay. Well, if you believe in a country where we lift each other up and take care of one another, vote NDP.
Okay, so that's Jack Mead out in BC. And I just have a message to the people who have been threatening me, saying things like, Rick, are you a liberal? And trying to intimidate me. I'm going to vote any damn way I want, and you should too. And I'm going to speak my mind here. When I do that, I'll make it clear and demarcate that I'm offering my opinion. I'm going to say what I want to say with my voice, and you should too. But I won't be intimidated. I won't be browbeaten into submission. I won't bend the knee to anybody out there who keeps attacking me, and nor will I allow it in the chat or against other people. I want a free and fair election. I want a country where people can go to the polls and decide for themselves who they cast their ballot for. I want a country where we have little or no foreign influence in our decision-making process. And I see a ton of foreign influence and infiltration from multiple international actors, not the least of which is a certain element in the United States of America right now, and it's pretty heavy. Not just China, not just Russia, not Iran. Iran's in there too, but not just Iran, the United States. There's no greater influencer right now in this election from a foreign influencer than the US of A. And you just saw it in that video that I ran, just one of probably thousands or maybe even millions out there. But I won't be intimidated here. So go on, keep attacking me, sending me the emails, phoning me, and trying to insult me by asking me if I'm a liberal. You know what? Let me make something very clear to you. As far as I'm concerned, I'm a fiscal conservative. I'm a classical liberal. And as far as I'm concerned, liberals are not my enemy, never have been, never will be. They are my neighbors. I'll be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Also, before we move on, my government is not my enemy. Your government in Canada is not your enemy. I've heard some people saying that your government is your enemy, saying things like Russia is not your enemy, your government is your enemy. I had a political leader on this program a couple of weeks ago who said that very thing. And I just need to push back very strongly against that tonight because we are in the final week of this election. And I want to make it very clear that anybody saying that is misguided and will not have my support when I go to the polls. And I won't tell you who I'm going to vote for because I'm not endorsing any candidates, but I will push back when I see somebody who is misguided. And to sit there and say that Russia is not your enemy, your government is your enemy, I'm sorry. You can say that Russia is not your enemy if you choose to. And there might be merit in saying that, but your government is definitely not your enemy. They may be your political opponent, but your government's not your enemy. And there's proof in that right now, because on the 28th of this month, you're all going to be able to go to the poll and cast a ballot and choose a new government if you wish. And if you lose and you don't get what you want, you're going to get another shot down the road as long as the country stays together. Voting matters. And that's how we resolve conflict, political conflict in this country, because we do have a functioning democracy. Anybody telling you otherwise is lying and probably have motives that are less than, well, let's just say they're probably not acting in good faith. And I'm seeing a whole lot of that going on in this country right now. Stay with me. When we come back, Mike Bukarek will join us.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring Mike Bukarek in. And there he is.
Oh, I'm very large.
That's okay. Let me see if I can adjust a little bit. There we go.
There we go.
Welcome back, sir. Thank you for joining us on the program again tonight. Greatly appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. As usual, I wish it was under better circumstances.
Yes, well, weird times, and the scandal with Pete Hegseth just continues to grow. This Signal scandal.
Well, it never went away, but we're getting more pieces of it because one of the things that he had on the first scandal, which was bad, but at least somebody could point to, well, he was stupid and he was an idiot, but at least the people on the chat were people that actually, had a reason to know, and they had a reason to be on that chat. But today it was revealed that, and this has been going on an ongoing simmer where he got his brother a job at the Pentagon. His wife has been accompanying him on various official trips and being in the room when he's conducting official business. This is his third wife. She was some sort of backroom producer at Fox News, so she's a journalist-ish. She's some sort of Fox News executive. She's not appointed. She wasn't congressionally confirmed. She didn't raise her right hand and swear a constitutional oath. She is not serving in any sort of office, but he's allowing her in to various rooms where she has no right to be. She has no clearance to be. So that's been going on since the first scandal, but now it comes out that he had another chat that his wife was on, his personal lawyer was on, but it was also on his personal phone, because I had a question the first time on what sort of device the Signal chat was existing on, which I don't know that anyone actually answered, but there's a big difference in security levels between a government issued phone and his personal phone. This one was evidently on his personal phone, which I guarantee you that thousands of Russians and Chinese and Iranians and North Koreans and pretty much everyone is out there snooping and hacking into the personal devices of the president's Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State. They are prime targets. And I guarantee you that people are out there and pretty much assume that your personal phone has been hacked into is probably standard fare as one of their security briefings when they take the job. So this one keeps growing. It keeps metastasizing. They keep trying to make excuses for it. This time, I don't know if you watched the Hegseth part of the Easter egg thing where he tried to blame it on disgruntled that's the one where he tried to blame it on disgruntled employees.
Yeah, shall we run the clip?
Yeah, if you want.
What do you want to say, sir, about the Signal chat controversy?
You know, what a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax. Won't give back their Pulitzers. They got Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. And on hoaxes, time and time and time again. And as they peddle those lies, no one ever calls them on it. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me, because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters, and anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter. So I'm happy to be here at the Easter egg roll with my dad and my kids, because this is what we're doing it for. These kids right here. This is why we're fighting the fake news media. This is why we're fighting slash and burn Democrats. This is why we're fighting hoaxsters. This group, this group right here, full of hoaxsters that peddle anonymous sources from leakers with axes to grind, and then you put it all together as if it's some news story. And when we know exactly what it is. So I'm really proud of what we're doing for the president, fighting hard across the board, and I'm going to go roll some Easter eggs with my kids. Thank you very much. Have spoken to the president, and we are going to continue fighting on the same page all the way. Come on, guys.
So yeah, deflection, denial. He didn't actually address the point. But yeah, trying to blame other employees for stuff that he clearly did. Yeah, this is not a leader. I wouldn't follow him into Walmart, much less anywhere else. So yeah, there's a saying in the military. I don't know if I said this the first time, where if under bad leadership, when people in power that should not be in power, people that have rank that didn't earn that rank and are not acting like they wear the rank, and then they do something bad and they just kind of get a slap on the wrist for something that would, destroy someone else's career. It's called different spanks for different ranks. And it's something that is a hallmark of the worst type of leadership. And it does happen because people are people. But when you've got somebody at the top that is doing that, there's nobody underneath of him that wants to follow him right now. Because if they do, and then he does something wrong and they point it out because they're good people, and then he treats them like he just treated his former employees, he tries to blame them for what he did bad. Yeah, this is not a leader. This is not how you build trust. This is not how you build a strong military. This is completely toxic for the American military. And every single one of your viewers should be angry about this, like actually angry about this, because when the leader of the United States military is acting like this, the leader of the military that's the most powerful military on the planet is acting like this, that's a serious problem. And so everyone needs to be angry about this, and everyone needs to keep confronting him on this.
I think people should be angry with the reaction, the comment that we got from the president today.
Yes.
He says, oh, that's an old one.
Well, he tried to, I'm not actually sure he actually is getting all the up-to-date information, because in his first term, he was famous for his daily security briefing, where normal presidents like President Obama or President Bush or President Biden or President Clinton or President older Bush, all the way back, they would receive daily security briefings, and they're the commander-in-chief of the United States. They're the leader of the free world. This is not a light matter that we're talking about here. They're receiving a security brief. It's long, it's detailed. It usually takes an hour to brief the president on it. In Trump's first term, he famously said, look, I don't want more than 2 pages, and there better be pictures, kind of. So he's not getting the whole story. So his comment seems to me like he didn't even understand that there was a second signal chat that they were asking about. He didn't know what they were talking about. That's what his response, and that should worry everyone as well. Don't forget, and I said this before, at every point in Trump's term, he is older than Biden was in the previous term. He is 5 months older. He's not a young man. He doesn't eat well. He doesn't exercise. Yeah, so he's visibly morbidly obese. So the fact that he doesn't understand, and he's the president, you have to start asking your questions about who does actually understand, who is in charge. These are valid questions if he's answering questions like that.
Then there were these conflicting reports today. Mid-afternoon, we see reports from NPR, New York Times coming out, some others as well, I think repeating what others were initially reporting, saying that the White House was looking to possibly replace Hegseth. And then within minutes of me receiving that information, I'm seeing the White House come down hard and deny it, calling it fake news. What do you make of that?
Spokesperson Leavitt, I'm not actually sure how to say your name. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But of course they're going to deny it, because whoever told the press didn't give their name, because they're not allowed. But there's been ongoing reports from the Pentagon from the past 6 to 8 weeks that Secretary Hegseth is just a disaster. We knew this going in. It came in while they were vetting him. So in November and December, after his name floated to the top, people were saying he doesn't have the experience. He is not a valid choice to become Secretary of Defense. He doesn't have executive experience. He never held high rank in the military. He never really ran anything. And now you're asking him to run one of the biggest organizations in the world. It's got a $900 billion budget. It's got assets of trillions of dollars. I wouldn't even guess at the assets. You've got 11 aircraft carriers, and each one of those is worth about $12 billion. So you've got, $120 billion just in aircraft carriers. So, and that's not the planes, that's not the crew, that's not anything else. So it's a huge thing that you're asking somebody to run. This is not amateur hour. This is not for a newbie. This is not for somebody to learn as they go on the job training. This is not the job for that. Now, if he wanted to get his feet wet as some sort of undersecretary, that sounds like it's a bad job, but it's not. A lot of those undersecretaries have serious work that they do. Undersecretary for procurement, undersecretary for logistics, technological development. There's all sorts of these people underneath of the big Secretary of Defense. And they have real jobs. And if they wanted to get his feet wet and then say, hey, you're going to be Secretary of Defense in 2 years, okay, maybe that would have been more of a valid choice. But we knew this. He had drunken problems. He had he was often drunk on the job at Fox News, according to his colleagues. He had some NGO experience where there was some financial fraud going on. This is the guy that they nominated. And so there's been these bubbling things the last 6 to 8 weeks that his term as leader, because he doesn't know how to lead, so leader is in air quotes here, is just been an unmitigated disaster. And so the 3 people that have been recently either fired or they resigned are not, they're not liberals. They're not career Pentagon people. They are not officers that have been there for presidents the last 20 or 30 years. These are MAGA people. These are Trump people that came in. Some of them are friends with Secretary Hegseth. He brought them on board. And so these are the people that are now resigning, going, this is a disaster. And so those are the people he's trying to blame, people that he brought on, MAGA people, Trump supporters. These are not deep state, people that have been in the business for a while, people that know the ins and outs of the Pentagon. These are Hegseth's people. And they're the ones that are saying this is a train wreck. So I think the reports of them looking for a replacement for this guy are real. I think because of who Trump is, the fact that this guy keeps, he's not giving results, he's giving headaches, and is bad of a businessman and bad of a president, I think Trump is. I don't think he tolerates this kind of thing very well, because it's completely destroying any sort of public image that he's trying to create, because you've got this disaster idiot leaker of classified information, guy that puts pilots in danger. This is the guy that just keeps popping up on the radar. I think his days are numbered.
So what would the process look like here? Do you think how is this going to likely play out, or do you even know?
So I can give you the process. So there's been secretaries of defense in the past that did not do a good job. The 2 worst in my memory are Rumsfeld in the first Bush administration. And then he also, people don't remember this, also served in the Ford administration in the 1970s as Secretary of Defense. And now Hegseth. Those are the 2 worst that I'm aware of, that certainly in my lifetime. But there's been others that were not great. There was, he was a senator, and I'm trying to dig up his name, but he worked for Obama, and I don't think he lasted more than 12 months. He was a senator, a friend of Obama. He was one of Obama's mentors in the Senate when Obama was brand new. And he tried to bring him on as SecDef, and it did not work. And so he left. In an ideal world, people complain about the deep state, but what they're complaining about is the people that have been there, that know the ins and outs. They know the back alleys. They know how things work. They know the laws. They know the regulations. They know all these things. And you've got a leader, but you've got people that actually know the machinery, that run it on a day-to-day basis. Now, Hegseth and Trump have been firing a lot of those people left and right, so that actually worries me, that the people that actually know how this thing goes, because when you fire the leader and you're looking for a new leader, you've got to have people in place that can keep the ship going, that can keep the organization functional. I do think there are enough people that it will continue to run competently. Despite the two members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff that recently got fired, there's enough general officers that actually, even if they're Trump supporters, they've been in the business long enough, they know how this runs. I think they can avoid the icebergs, as it were. But he's got to go. I don't know. Hopefully they didn't cut too many people. They didn't cut too deeply. That if Hegseth goes, then the organization can't function for a couple of months while they choose his replacement.
Wow. How much danger are we in here?
Well, it depends. If you remember back to 2021, where General Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, in what was a fairly common, the MAGA world, the Trump supporters try and paint this like it was something nefarious, and it wasn't. This stuff happens all the time. You've got horizontal talk between militaries that actually speak with each other. So like the United States and the United Kingdom, the United States and Canada, they have military to military talks all the time that don't touch any politicians. When Milley was contacting his counterpart in China saying, look, you don't have to worry about something rash going on. That's not going to happen. That was in the wake of the January 6th thing. That's fairly normal. I think there's enough people that that are still in, certainly in uniform, and some of the civil servants that have been there for a while. I think there's enough of those people that I don't think you have any sort of acute worry. But you are talking about Trump world, where he tries to destroy things. He makes rash decisions. There's a lot of threats going on right now. Members of Congress are being threatened. That's one of the reasons it's one of the reasons Hegseth actually got confirmed, is several senators had their life threatened. They had a rash of MAGA calls to their offices threatening their life. And then you had other strong arm tactics like, we're going to primary you. You're not going to even make it to the next election. So there's all of these sorts of things going on. But so that's why I said these are not normal times. So my predicting, if this was during President Biden's term or even President Trump's first term, certainly before President Trump's first term with Obama, Bush, Clinton, and before, I would say the chances of something weird happening were very slim. But with Trump in his second term here and the tornado that's hitting the United States government right now, all bets are off. I have no idea even how to judge the probability. I just don't know.
Well,
which should scare people.
Yeah. And I guess all we can do now is sit back and wait. I get the feeling we're going to see something happen pretty soon.
I think so. He's too toxic for everyone. Even in Trump world, he's too toxic. And like I said, did you read that Politico article over the weekend where it was one of these people that got fired?
No.
It wrote an article. He wrote an op-ed for I'll forward it to you. But this was Pete Hegseth's friend. That's why I brought it up. And he was one of the people that left that got fired. And he's one of the people that's saying this is a train wreck. Pete Hegseth's got to go.
And I just look at that video at the Easter egg roll. The guy is like, he's just squirming. He's acting like a little kid who got caught, and he's just lying.
Like I said, I'm a 22-year military veteran. I've seen 3 combat zones. I wouldn't follow that guy into Walmart. Yeah. I don't trust him at all.
Well, you have an integrity issue there, I think.
Yep. Yeah. Integrity and competence. If he was a lying bag of nuts, I had to self-censor very quickly. from my military terminology. If he was a liar, but he was competent, we would have a different story going on here. But he's a liar and he's completely incompetent. So I don't even think he's aware. I don't think he's competent enough to know how bad of a job he's doing. That's how bad he is right now. And that's 22-year veteran like me, somebody wearing stars on their shoulders, somebody with a lot of stripes on their sleeve, looking at this guy going, what a dirtbag. And like I said, I wouldn't follow him into Walmart. He has no business leading. I wouldn't trust him with my house plans. So, yeah. So he's got all sorts of problems. I don't think he's smart or competent enough to understand it.
All right. Well,
now
Mike,
I will say that President Trump in his first term actually had some decent secretaries of defense. My favorite Secretary of Defense is actually Jim Mattis, who was Trump's first Secretary of Defense. Very competent man. And the second guy, I'd like to say it was Esper. I can see his face. I'm not picturing his name, but he was not my favorite, and I had my reservations when he was nominated, but he turned out to be actually competent. He actually knew how to do the gig. So Trump actually had competent secretaries of defense in his first term. We'll see who he chooses next. It's got to be somebody better than this.
Yeah. Was it H.R. McMaster?
McMaster served other roles.
Right.
I'd have to look him up, but he was never Secretary of Defense. I'd like to say he was maybe NSA, the national security person. But I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, I do see him from time to time at conferences, and I find him to be he's got some real depth to him and seems pretty solid,
he's one of those people. I mean, you were talking about before I came on where these people are not my enemy. I have some very strong disagreements with. I am not. This is a complicated statement. I'm center left. I'm very pro strong national defense, pro capitalism, free markets, and all that kind of stuff. And so but I have some fairly left views and some things and some right. So I'm somewhere in the middle. It's complicated. Issue by issue, you'd have a sliding scale for me. But there are people that I disagree with, but I still respect. Because that's how when you're building a team and when you've got a free nation, that's how it should work. Because somebody like McMaster, I probably disagree with him on a lot of things, but from what I could tell, he was at least competent. He knew the business. When he said something, I would trust that he had actually done his homework, even if I disagreed with him. So yeah, there's a certain level of confidence and respect while retaining disagreement that a healthy society should have, for what it's worth.
Yes. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add with regard to this tonight, Mike?
Well, if you wanted to touch on any of those legal things I mentioned before, I emailed you a cool photo, but I think you had already started your show by then. It was one of those things I left out the last time that we were talking about these signal chats, where I was talking about the United States government and the United States military have all sorts of communication options that are not signal chats on mobile devices.
Okay, I can bring this up. Actually, I've got it here. Let me see if I can.
It's just a really cool photo. So any of you nerds out there might just enjoy the photo. Military nerds anyway.
Let me just download it here and I'll get it up on the screen for you. This is the aerial photo.
So way back when, I don't even remember what year this was, when China was launching these high altitude balloons that were flying over the States at, 60, 70,000 feet.
Right.
Because one of the things that I mentioned on secure government and military communications is you've got line of sight from the ground up to a satellite. And this Chinese balloon had a line of sight up to a Chinese satellite. The problem is that the United States has airplanes that can fly over that balloon. So the U-2 spy plane has been around for a long time. It's served many, 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 many roles. One of the roles that it has served is electronic snooping. And so if flying above the Chinese balloon, it could intercept the line of sight signal between that balloon and the Chinese satellite. So that's one of the reasons why we didn't shoot it down right away, is that we gathered all sorts of intelligence from it before we shot it down. And the U-2 has served as a mobile command, a mobile military communications node. An old British plane, if any of you nerds know the old English Electric Canberra. Yeah, so this is the U-2 guy, pilot in his spacesuit, looking over his starboard wing. He's hundreds of feet above that Chinese balloon. And just for scale, the solar panels there are close to 200 feet across, maybe, and as far as 300 feet, 100 yards, 100 meters. Not a small structure underneath of that balloon. And so that gives you a sense of how much higher than the balloon the U-2 was. And the U-2 is comfortable at least up to 80,000 feet in its current form. Because since it was started flying, it got better engines, it got better wings. It's a different airplane at this point than it was decades ago.
Yeah.
So mobile communications nodes, there's all sorts of versions of this that Hegseth has at his ready disposal. We've got a couple of dozen U-2s. We still have a small handful of the Canberra bombers in American service. They're called the B-57. So yeah, it's just a cool photo. And I meant to have it on the last one so you nerds out there can nerd out with me.
Okay. All right. So I didn't want to keep you too long tonight. It was short notice, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Did you read that other news that HHS Secretary Kristi Noem had her purse snatched, and it had her secure access badge and her government ID, her computer access badge? So yeah, she's got a Secret Service detail. She's a cabinet secretary, so she's got a Secret Service detail. She was at a restaurant. Somebody snatched her purse. And when I was talking about, I guarantee you that there are thousands of foreign agents going after these people. If I was a foreign agent and I saw that HHS secretary running around with a purse going to restaurants, I would hire somebody. I'm like, I will give you $1,000 to steal that purse and bring it to me. You can keep what's in the purse. After I look at it, maybe I'll take it an item or two. You can keep everything else. Don't care about the cash. If there's cash, you can keep it. So yeah, she had her purse snatched. It would have her computer access ID. In the military, we called it a common access card, which has in the card itself, it has multi-function, multi-factor identification, and then there's more security layers on top of that. She would have her physical location access badge. This is the one that lets her into the building itself. So somebody has that. So the incompetence that she's got all of that in her purse and a Secret Service detail, and somebody managed to snatch her bag. Are you kidding me? So the level of incompetence in Trump's cabinet is astonishing. This is the same secretary that went down to El Salvador and, in violation of international law for the treatment of prisoners, used these prisoners in what is a concentration camp essentially as a political backdrop, which is very fascistic of her. So she has earned the nickname Concentration Camp Barbie. So just for anyone keeping score, Hegseth is not the only incompetent fool in Trump's cabinet.
Yeah, I can see down the road where we're going to be getting information revelations about what's been going on in that prison in El Salvador. And I think the United States will pay dearly down the road in terms of its international reputation.
They already are.
Yeah.
And right now it's setting up a constitutional clash where Trump has been trying to ignore court orders because the United States have 3 co-equal branches of government. Supposedly Trump and everyone in his administration swore an oath to support and protect because it's part of the Constitution. I did read, and I don't know how valid this is because my sources were fairly thin, but one of the worries in the United States on these court orders is that the court can order, but who enforces? The police is usually it's the U.S. Marshals that enforce the court orders, but they're part of the executive branch under Trump's control. But I've been reading that the courts can deputize somebody. The courts can authorize somebody to enforce their rulings. So we're heading for nowhere good when this is the conversation going on. Yay.
Well, yay, yes, because this is the appalling thing is that I'm seeing, I don't know, joy, glee in the faces of some of these people when they're executing these deportations and talking about them. And I don't know why anyone would take pleasure in it, especially when we're seeing evidence that they may be scooping up people who are completely innocent. And
well, we know that this guy was innocent.
Yeah.
The only person that accused him of being a gang member was somebody that didn't even work in the district where this guy was caught. It was somebody else. And so it was like somebody that really didn't have the knowledge made the accusation, but the court threw the accusation out. The immigration court did. But these people, the people that have the glee on these deportations, I was talking to one of them today, and I just trying to understand where they're coming from, because if I don't understand, how can I push back, kind of a thing. Where they are stuck on the fact this Garcia guy, Abrego Garcia, am I remembering his name right? He entered illegally, which in the United States is a civil infraction akin to a speeding ticket or something like that. It's not nothing, but it's not overly serious. Like, you get a speeding ticket, you go about your day after you get your ticket, right?
Mhm.
And deal with it later. Sometimes you just pay a fine and you're done. But he went through the courts because he was fleeing a country that had some serious problems. And by 2019, an immigration court had not only ruled that he could stay in the United States legally, he attained legal status, but he attained protected status, where he was specifically protected from deportation to several of these countries. And now he's in clear violation of this court's ruling. There was an American citizen that was detained in Florida by ICE. He was later let go, but he had to spend several days in jail. But this is the kind of person that he probably needed those work days to like buy groceries for his family. So just even getting detained for a couple of days can be a huge burden on these people. And the fear and the intimidation. But this friend of mine was all wrapped up in the fact that this guy crossed the border without permission, and he thought that was the end of the conversation. And that's not how international law works. That's not how refugee status works. Asylum seekers, that's not how it works. More recently, I didn't send you this picture. Maybe I should, but in fact, I will in a second here. But the Afghanistan evacuation that Trump negotiated the treaty on back in, I'd like to say February of 2020. It was in the first couple of months of 2020, where he didn't include the Afghani government. He negotiated directly with the Taliban. And so we had the train wreck of an evacuation, but we had all of these people that we got out of Afghanistan because they couldn't stay there safely. So now they're refugees, asylum seekers in the United States. Several hundred of those over the weekend got emails from ICE saying you need to self-deport in 7 days or we're going to come find you. And it's just mind-boggling, this kind of stuff. I don't know if that was an error or not, but I worked on the Afghanistan evacuation while I was still in the military. I was in Germany at the time. I was at Ramstein Air Base. And I was, I'm going to throw a little bit of military terminology at you, NCOIC, which is non-commissioned officer in charge. It's the position an upper level sergeant can hold. That I was the NCOIC of Pod 3 during the daytime. I was working 12 and 12s. That's 12 hours on, 12 hours off. That's one of the surge capacities, surge duty statuses you can do in the military, where instead of a normal 8-hour shift and then things shut down at night, if you have to keep running 24 hours a day, you can start doing 12 and 12s. So for 12 hours every day, I was the NCOIC of Pod 3. It was a couple of hundred tents plus a hangar full of beds. At any given time, I had 5,000 evacuees under my charge, where I was in charge of getting them food. Some of them literally came with no pants. And then, of course, they're coming from Afghanistan to Germany, and Germany was cold at the time. And so coats, pants, food, medicines, all of these kinds of things. I was the person in between the whatever tribal leaders, local like mayors or whoever were on the plains, some Afghani interpreters, the military people above me, and then NGOs like the International Committee of the Red Cross had a big part of the evacuation at the Ramstein. So I was in the middle of all of that. I received 12 incoming flights, at least. I lost count because 12 and 12s, and you're doing it for day after day after day, you lose count. But going back, there were at least 12 of them that I can remember. And that's when a plane just completely unloads into your pod. And so several hundred new people that you have to assess. And so I did a lot of work on the Afghanistan evacuation. I saw a lot of the human suffering. I saw the state these people were in, their need. And now to have that thrown back, and they're going to start deporting Afghanistan refugees and asylum seekers, people that were desperate to come to the United States that helped us while we were there. It's just insulting would be too mild of a word. Betrayal would be too mild of a word. This is the level of disaster that's going on right now. So yeah, I should find this picture of the Ramstein flight line and send it to you. I don't know if you have time to wait or if you have other stuff that you want to cover.
I'll tell you what, let's I'll take a little break, and that'll give you a moment to get that lined up, and we'll continue on the other side of this, folks. Don't go away.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Okay. Let's see if Mike is still there.
I haven't found it
Working
yet.
on?
Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. No problem. Just you keep working on it. I'll give you a couple of minutes, and I'll keep people entertained. Okay, so what else do we have going on tonight? I don't know why he chose a brown bunny. We didn't comment on that yet. If anybody out there knows why, let me know in the chat over here on the Rumble. Does anybody know why Trump chose a brown bunny for the Easter egg roll? And I don't know why. Did I even show you the brown bunny? I guess you saw him in the video. I'll show you the close-up shot because, you know, this is very important news. Let me show you. And I'll show you as well. I've got this liberal meme video attack ad thingy, which is sort of a reverse. Okay, where did it go? I think that's it there. Yeah. Here we go. The brown bunny. So why brown? Let me just Google it. Maybe I can find out that way. Trump brown bunny Easter. Trump mocks Biden's 2022 Easter bunny incident. I don't know why. Trump says gray skies. I'm not seeing any reference to it online, and yet people keep talking about how the bunny is brown. Go back to the chat. Anybody have an answer for me? Tinkerbell says he couldn't find an orange one. Well, now we have the answer. He couldn't find an orange one. Oh, have you guys seen also the videos of, well, I would say there's sort of conservative videographers, streamers. They've been going to, you know, Chris Stacey was one. There are a couple of others. They've been going to these liberal rallies. Mark Carney went to his riding where he's trying to secure his seat in Nepean, Ontario, and over the weekend. And what you're getting is people in line giving the camera guy, some people, not all of them, giving people the finger. And there've been, you know, some aggressive words, I guess you could say, colorful language. I think that's because people are disillusioned, shall we say, with some of the independent or conservative media coverage out there. If you're a liberal, you're taking exception to some of it, especially after the clown show that we saw at the after debate press scrum, which was dominated obviously by, well, you know, my view on rebel media and the way that they behaved. Let me just show you this, and you might want to comment on it. So this was produced by whom? I don't know. But this is actual video, but then they take this and add to it. I guess it's a take on elbows up. I guess this is fingers up. Carney, Christian Freeland, Jagmeet Singh, Trudeau. I don't know that it hurts Mark Carney at all, actually. I don't think it does. I don't know. Mike's still working on his photo, I think.
Got it.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah, it's in your email.
All right, let me just let me get rid of all these tabs and I will pick it up. Okay.
I'm only laughing because I've got a million tabs up myself.
Okay, there we go. Saving. Do you know why it was a brown bunny this year? Do you have any idea?
I don't have a clue. That kind of stuff, I don't know. There was a thing where President Obama wore a tan suit one day, and just Fox News, and I think Pete Hegseth was one of those people, was just like, this is the end of the presidency. He's not dressing appropriately for his office. And it was like the big scandal of the week. And he wore a tan suit. He looked good in the tan suit. It's just like, whatever. So, I mean, whatever.
I don't know. I don't know why people get so fixated on it, but like people keep messaging me about it. You had a brown bunny this year. Okay. I just think the whole bunny thing, it just creeps me out.
I just don't care.
Yeah, it just when I see the president wandering around on the White House lawn and there's this giant bunny, it looks like some surreal, I don't know, LSD trip or something. It's just
I mean, it's tradition in the United States, but whatever.
It's just
yeah,
it's, to me, it's weird. It creeps me out. For some people, it's clowns. Now, for me, it's bunnies. It's giant bunnies.
Well, there used to be an entire website about awful Easter bunny pictures. So I don't know if you ever saw that one. No. Some of those bunnies were terrifying.
Yeah, especially the ones with fangs. So there's your photo.
So this is the Ramstein Air Base flight line, at least part of it. This is the extreme west end. That would be Hangar 1 and Hangar 2 right there. This is the only picture that I could find because I was too busy to take pictures. Somebody went up in the control tower and took this picture. This shows pods 1 and 2. Just to give you an idea of scale, this is 2 out of 5 pods. And so pod 3 that I was in charge of would be to the left of this photo. You might have, I mean, I don't think I can see a dividing fence in there. But that gives you the idea, the scale of the evacuation. That building in the foreground is one of the flight line firehouses with fire trucks. We had to set up the orphan camp to the right of that. So there were unaccompanied minors that were on these planes, and for any number of reasons, legal, safety, health, all that kind of stuff, we put the unaccompanied minors in a separate facility from the rest of the evacuees. The entire base turned out, I mean, it was the amount of effort was just astonishing. And so somebody like me who actually went through this, to now see it thrown on its head and these people aren't welcome. We owe them literally everything. And now they're being shown the door. It's one more reason I'm just very angry at Trump and everything he stands for.
Yeah. So,
but I don't know if you could even count the tents, but those are not small tents. So, yeah.
Well, I have to say that liberals are not my enemy. Either are Americans, just for the record. Just so you know. And I have seen some Americans reaching out to Canadians and saying very kind things in these days too. So I think there's hope.
And it's with all the crazy and all the intimidation and all the threats coming out of Trump and his people. It's important to remember that Trump has never won a popular majority of the vote. In 2016, when he beat Hillary Clinton, he didn't even win the popular vote. She won the popular vote by several million votes, even though our system is strange and he won the Electoral College. This time he didn't break 50% of the vote. So he still won a plurality, if people know their terminology. He did win more votes than the other candidates, but he never won 50%, which means that every election that Trump has stood for, more than half of Americans voted against him. Mm-hmm. So that's an important fundamental fact to remember about everything. And you talked about, before I came on, you talked about your vote matters. Your citizenship matters. I had a conversation with retired general. I don't think he's retired anymore, who shall remain nameless. But I mentioned that I was retired, And there's a reason when a military person retires, while you're active duty, you call it service, because in many ways you're a servant. You work under a legal code that's much more restrictive. Some of your rights are flat out taken away once you put that uniform on. But once you retire, we call that promoting to civilian, because in many ways, I am that general's boss now. I am President Trump's boss, because the United States Constitution derives any and all power from one phrase, and that is "we the people." There is no other part of the United States Constitution that puts the source of American governmental power anywhere else. And remembering that it is the people that decide, that elections matter, that there's going to be another election, that Trump has never won a majority of Americans' votes. It's important to remember all of these things. It's important to remember that democracy is important, that individual citizens are important, that your voice matters, your vote matters, your opinion matters. Those are all the things that I swore to support and defend for 22 years. So it all matters. And there's a lot of people like me that are willing to go to bat for those freedoms. So, yeah.
And while we have you here, just about time to wrap up for the night, but can I just get your thoughts on what we've been hearing about the efforts to bring a lasting peace to Ukraine, but now it looks like the United States might be ready to just give up on the process, because we're hearing that it's just going nowhere with Russia. And where do you think that might lead?
Well, we'll see what happens. I think there are at least some people in Trump's orbit that are coming to understand that Putin, I know this should shock people, this is my shocked face, that some guy that grew up in the KGB during the Soviet Union and then took the reins of power, and then through violence and other means of coercion eliminated all political opposition. So either the people that could have opposed him are either dead or in a gulag. This is the person that Trump's trying to negotiate with. Vladimir Zelensky knew who he was dealing with, because when Zelensky was elected, one of the reasons he was elected is Ukraine was already at war. They were first the Little Green Men in 2014 after the Maidan Revolution. The Ukrainians didn't want that to continue, even though by today's standards it was only low-grade war. He was elected in part to put an end to that, and he tried. He went hard at the negotiations with Russia. He tried to get lasting ceasefire. He tried to get large amounts of prisoner exchanges. And he worked hard on that for a while, but Russia just didn't fulfill any of their promises. They didn't negotiate in good faith. They gave him the runaround, and that's just who they are. Here's another example from my personal military days, where this would have been, I'd like to say 2018 or so, where my unit wanted to visit Russia. As part of a goodwill, let's try and fix some things, something about face-to-face contact with a real human being. It's a lot harder to be mad at somebody when you're looking them in the eye and you're interacting. Maybe you're sharing vodka or whatever. So we said, hey, let's go and we can have some fun, music and all that kind of stuff. They said, okay, sure. But we can't take pictures. We can't just deal with pictures of your diplomatic passports. We need the actual passports. And so, okay, fine. Can we drop them off at the consulate that was maybe 30 minutes from Ramstein? And they're like, no, you need to drive it to our embassy in Berlin. We're like, okay, fine. We sent somebody with a bag of all of our passports up to Berlin, and then they kept them for a week, which is bad, but your European command wanted it. So we're like, okay, we'll make an exception. And then a couple of weeks later, we go and pick up our passports and bags of entry visas. And what they did is they granted us entry for half of the unit for 1 2-week period, and then the other half of the unit for a completely different 2-week period 6 weeks later. And we're like, wait. So these are the kind of BS games that they play, that they promise, and then when it comes back, it's just complete. It's a circus. So that my personal experience dealing with Russia. And that's Zelensky's experience. That's what he tried to communicate to Trump in the White House, where these people are not going to negotiate in good faith. So we're seeing that even the proposed Russian Easter ceasefire didn't work. My frontline sources are like, yeah, it didn't stop. They're still shooting at us. I don't see where this goes. My one hope is that, like with Hegseth, Trump does not want to look weak. He promised hard on this Ukraine thing. He promised hard to end it. And if his negotiations aren't going to work, he has two choices. He can either try to abandon Ukraine and let Russia win, and that's how he's going to end it. But that's not going to work because Europe is not going to abandon Ukraine. So America walking away will directly harm Ukraine. It will get Ukrainians killed, but it won't end the war. And there's got to be somebody in Trump's orbit that can tell him that. The other choice is if Russia turns south, like they were never honest about this, would Trump go hard at supporting Ukraine? Would he double down? Would he send more weapons than Biden ever did? Biden sent maybe 300 Bradleys, and with the Australian Abrams, it maybe got up to 80 Abrams tanks, even though only 30 of those came from the United States. Could he send another 500 Bradleys and another 300 Abrams tanks, more missiles, more everything, and say, look, if you're not going to come to the negotiating table, we're going to make you pay in blood, and we're going to help Ukraine kick you out, and that's how we're going to end it. With Russia obviously not being an honest negotiator, because they never were, Trump doesn't have a lot of options. And if he wants to actually look like he's not an idiot and a weak fool for promising peace that he could never deliver on, he's going to have to find another way to deliver that. So we'll see. He'll either back off and say, no, I was just being sarcastic and I was kidding when I said I could fix this. He can either do that BS route, or he can go hard in another direction. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, if he fires Hegseth and puts an adult into that position, sober would be preferable. We're calling Hegseth a DUI hire, so I'm going to sneak that into your show. But if he gets somebody real in that job, maybe they can give Trump good advice, because I don't think he's getting it right now. So we'll see.
All right. And with that, stay tuned.
I have hope, but it's very fraught and it's very hedged.
Okay. We're just past the top of the hour. Time to wrap up. Any final thought tonight, Mike?
No, other than I mean, I shared those words of Lincoln a couple of months ago. What we do matters. History's watching. The eyes of history are upon us. And I don't care if you're small. I don't care if you're big. Right now is when it matters. And so doing the right thing now matters.
Yeah. And vote on April 28th, Canadians. Get out there and exercise your right. And with that, I will see everybody back here tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the flip side.
All right. See everyone.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.